Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Boxiest, and today we are going to continue the What If series. What if events had gone differently? And in this What If, we're going to change the history of Cobra Kai. What if Miguel stayed in Mexico during the events of Cobra Kai Season 5? So in this timeline, Season 4 would still end the same way. Cobra Kai would still win the All Valley. Robbie would still go to Johnny in this timeline. Terry Silver would still betray Kreese, Daniel would still get chosen, and Miguel would still run away, and Johnny and Robbie would still go after him. Miguel would still arrive in Mexico, and he would still want to look for his father, and those events would stay the same. Miguel would eventually meet his father, and Hector would invite Miguel to stay with him. Hector and Miguel would bond a lot more in this timeline, and Hector would tell Miguel about his life. Eventually, Miguel would get the confidence to reveal to Hector that he was his son. Hector would be surprised, but he would be happy that Miguel was not with him. So Hector and Miguel would start bonding even more. Johnny and Robbie would still be looking for Miguel, and they would go around Mexico looking for Hector. And in the US, Daniel would shut down Miyagi-Do. Cobra Kai would start expanding. Daniel and Chosen would want to take down Terry Silver, and Season 5 would carry on. Miguel would still be mad at Carmen for not telling Hector that he existed. Hector would still take Miguel to the fighting arena, and the bond between Hector and Miguel would grow even more. Johnny and Robbie would still go to the fighting arena, and they would still be confused for FBI agents. Hector would still be informed, so Hector and Miguel would still go hide out in a shop. Hector would be on high alert. He would want to protect himself. Miguel would never find out the truth about Hector. Eventually, Johnny and Robbie would show up. Hector would see Johnny as he was trying to get in. He would grab his gun and be ready to shoot, but Miguel would stop Hector. He would say that Johnny was an FBI, and he would tell Hector that they could trust Johnny, so Miguel would let Johnny in the shop, but Hector would still be on guard. Johnny would tell Miguel that he was here to take him home, but Miguel would say that he doesn't want to go home. Miguel would say that for 17 years, he was deprived of a father. He would say that Hector was his family and that he wasn't going to leave Mexico. Hector would tell Johnny to listen to Miguel and that he better leave, but Johnny wouldn't back down. Hector would say that Miguel was his son, and Hector and Johnny would have a standoff. Johnny would want to strike first, but Miguel would defend Hector, and he would push Johnny away. This is when Robbie would come into the shop. Miguel would be surprised to see Robbie, and he would be angry. Miguel would start tearing up. He would tell Johnny that Johnny never cared about him, that he was using him to make himself feel better for screwing up with Robbie. Johnny would say that wasn't true, and Miguel would tell Johnny and Robbie to go away. Hector would point the gun at Johnny and Robbie. He would tell them to listen to Miguel. Johnny, not wanting Robbie to get hurt, he would back off. So Johnny and Robbie would leave, and Miguel would tell Hector all about Johnny, how he trained him in the US. And Hector would tell Miguel that he knows a couple people that can help Miguel continue his training. So Hector and Miguel would go back to his house. And over the next few days, Johnny and Robbie would show up at Hector's house. They would want to convince Miguel to go home, and Johnny would want to fight Hector, but Hector would be prepared and he would hire a couple people to fight Johnny. Robbie would want to defend Johnny, but Miguel would be angry and he would fight Robbie. So Johnny would fight off Hector's men while Miguel fought Robbie, and Hector's men would defeat Johnny and Miguel would defeat Robbie. Miguel would tell Johnny to go home and never come back. Johnny and Robbie would leave, and Johnny would tell Robbie to go back to the US, that it was too dangerous for him in Mexico. So Robbie would go back to the US. Johnny would stay in Mexico. He wouldn't give up. Hector's men would continue training Miguel. And once Robbie goes back to the US, he would go see Daniel. He would go apologize for everything that he did. Daniel would be happy to see Robbie, and Robbie would ask Daniel for help. He would say that Johnny was in Mexico. He would ask for his help to try to convince Johnny to come back to the US. So Daniel and Chosen would go to Mexico to try to get Johnny, and Daniel and Chosen would find Johnny. Johnny would be surprised to see them there, but Daniel would tell him that Robbie sent him, that he was here to bring him home. But Johnny would say that he wasn't giving up on Miguel, and he would ask for their help in trying to take down Hector's men. So Daniel and Chosen would agree, and the three of them would fight off Hector's men, and together they would defeat them. Miguel would be angry, and he would want to fight Johnny, but Johnny wouldn't want to fight Miguel, and it would be a similar fight to the fight Johnny had with Robbie in Season 3. Miguel would tell Johnny that he was finally happy with Hector, and he would tell Johnny that he never wants to see him again. Johnny would be heartbroken, and Daniel and Chosen would tell Johnny that it was over, that Miguel made his choice, and they would force Johnny to go back to the US. And in the US, Johnny would tell Carmen that he failed, and Carmen would be devastated, and the events of Season 5 would continue. Robbie would still move in with Johnny. Chosen and Daniel would want to continue taking out Cobra Kai, and eventually Daniel and Terry Silver would fight, but Terry Silver would still defeat him, so Daniel would decide to give up, so Chosen would go back to Okinawa, and without Miyagi Fang, Cobra Kai would continue to expand and grow, and in Mexico, with Miguel's training, Miguel would compete in the fighting arena, and Hector would make a lot of money from Miguel, and Miguel would become a champion once again, and that is where I'm gonna end this what if. Thank you guys for watching. What do you guys think would have happened if Miguel stayed in Mexico during the events of Cobra Kai Season 5? Let me know in the comments below. All members have access to emojis that can be used in comments and live streams. This isn't mandatory. This is only something extra. If you want to support the channel even more, YouTube lets me know that the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you guys could subscribe, that would be much appreciated. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications, and I'll see you guys next time.